When I returned home after 5 years, I was shocked and deeply troubled to find my wife and my teenage daughter lying together on a bed in the same room with one of my closest friends. As soon as my wife and daughter saw me, they froze. Before we dive deeper into the story, dear friends, I kindly ask you to subscribe to the channel. The highway stretched endlessly before James Carver, a 45-year-old man with weathered hands gripping the steering wheel of his old pickup truck. The sun dipped low over the Arizona horizon, casting golden streaks across the desert. 5 years. 5 long years since he'd last seen his home in the sleepy town of Willow Creek. The thought of returning to his wife, Emily, and their daughter, Lily, now 17, stirred a restless ache in his chest. He'd left to chase a dream, a construction job in Alaska that promised to pull his family out of debt. But the job had stretched on, one contract bleeding into another, until half a decade had slipped away. James adjusted his rearview mirror, or catching a glimpse of his own tired eyes. His dark hair was streaked with gray now, his face lined from years of hard labor under an unforgiving sun. He'd sent money home every month, called when he could, but the distance had worn on them all. Emily's voice had grown quieter over the years, her letters shorter. Lily, once his little girl who'd cling to his leg, now answered his calls with curt teenage indifference. He didn't blame them. He'd been gone too long, but now he was coming home, for good. The truck rattled as he turned onto the familiar dirt road leading to Willow Creek. The town hadn't changed much. Same dusty main street, same faded diner sign flickering in the dusk. His house, a modest 2-story with a wraparound porch, came into view. The sight of it tightened his throat. He parked, grabbed his duffel bag, and stepped out, the crunch of gravel under his boots sounding louder than it should. The porch light was off, which was odd. Emily always kept it on at night. He knocked, then waited. No answer. He tried the door, unlocked. Stepping inside, he was hit with the familiar scent of lavender and cedar, but something felt off. The house was too quiet. No clatter of dishes from the kitchen, no hum of the TV. Just silence. "Emily? Lily?" he called, his voice echoing in the dim living room. No response. He set his bag down and climbed the stairs, his heart picking up speed. Maybe they were out. Maybe they hadn't expected him today. He hadn't given an exact date, wanting to surprise them. But as he reached the second floor, a faint sound stopped him cold. A low murmur, a soft laugh coming from the master bedroom. James froze, his hand hovering over the doorknob. The laugh wasn't Emily's, nor Lily's. It was deeper, masculine. His stomach churned. He pushed the door open, and the sight before him seared into his mind like a brand. Emily, his wife of 20 years, was tangled in the sheets, her auburn hair spilling over the pillow. Beside her, his daughter, Lily, sat cross-legged on the bed, her face flushed, her eyes bright with something James couldn't name. And there, between them, lounging like he owned the place, was Ryan Kessler, James's oldest friend. Ryan, with his easy grin and sharp blue eyes, looked up at James as if he'd been expecting him. "Jimmy," Ryan said, his voice smooth as whiskey. "Didn't know you were back." Emily gasped, clutching the sheet to her chest. Lily's eyes widened, but she didn't move, didn't speak. James stood rooted to the spot, his mind struggling to process the scene. His wife, his daughter, his best friend, in his bedroom. What the hell is this? James's voice was hoarse, barely above a whisper. Emily's face crumpled. "James, we didn't know. You were coming home today." "That's your answer?" His voice rose, trembling with rage and hurt. 5 years I've been gone, working my hands to the bone for you, for Lily, and this is what I come back to? Ryan stood, raising his hands like he was calming a spooked horse. "Easy, Jimmy. Let's talk about this." "Don't call me that," James snapped, stepping forward. You're in my house, Ryan. My house. With my family. Lily finally spoke, her voice sharp. It's not like you've been here, Dad. You left us. The words hit like a punch. James turned to her, his little girl, now a young woman with fire in her eyes. I left to provide for you, he said, his voice cracking. Everything I did was for you and your mother. You left, Lily repeated, her tone colder than he'd ever heard. Ryan was here. He stayed. James looked from Lily to Emily, then to Ryan, who stood there with that infuriating calm. Get out, James said, his voice low and dangerous. Get out of my house, Ryan. Ryan didn't move. You sure you want to do this, Jimmy? You don't know the whole story. I know enough, James growled. He grabbed Ryan's arm, yanking him toward the door. Ryan didn't resist, but his eyes held a challenge, a glint that said this wasn't over. As Ryan left the room, Emily reached for James. Please, let me explain. Don't, James said, pulling away. Not now. He stormed out, the sound of Emily's sobs following him down the stairs. James sat in the kitchen, a bottle of bourbon in front of him, though he hadn't touched it. The house felt foreign now, like he was a guest in his own life. He'd spent the night on the couch, unable to face the bedroom. Dawn was breaking, casting pale light through the windows. He hadn't slept. Emily came downstairs, her eyes red-rimmed. She sat across from him, wringing her hands. James, I'm so sorry, she whispered. I never meant for this to happen. Then why did it? He asked, his voice hollow. Why him? Why Ryan? Emily looked away, her fingers twisting the hem of her sweater. You were gone so long. The first year I waited. I kept everything together. Lily, the house, the bills. But it was hard, James. Harder than you know. Lily was 12 when you left. She needed a father. I needed someone. And Ryan just stepped in? James's jaw tightened. My best friend? He didn't plan it, Emily said quickly. He came by to check on us, like you asked him to. He fixed the roof when it leaked, drove Lily to school when my car broke down. He was there, James. You weren't. James's hands clenched into fists. He wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, but the truth stung. He had asked Ryan to look after them. Ryan, who'd always been charming, who could talk his way into or out of anything. James had trusted him. And Lily? He asked, dreading the answer. What's his hold over her? Emily's face paled. She looks up to him. He's been like a father to her these past few years. She was so angry when you left, James. She felt abandoned. Ryan filled that void. James's heart sank. He'd always known Lily was a daddy's girl, but he'd thought she'd understand why he had to go. He'd been wrong. I need to talk to her, he said, standing. Where is she? Upstairs, Emily said. But James, go easy on her. She's not the little girl you left. Lily was in her room, sitting on the floor with her sketchbook open. Her dark hair, so like her mother's, fell over her face as she drew. James knocked softly, then entered. She didn't look up. Lily, he said, sitting on the edge of her bed. We need to talk. About what? Her tone was sharp, defensive. About how you showed up after 5 years and expect everything to be the same? I didn't expect this, he said, gesturing vaguely toward the house. I didn't expect to find my daughter and my wife with him. Lily's pencil stopped moving. She looked up, her eyes blazing. Ryan's been here for us. He didn't abandon us. He didn't leave us wondering if he'd ever come back. I was working, Lily, James said, his voice rising despite himself. I was trying to give you a better life. I didn't need a better life, she shouted, throwing her sketchbook down. I needed my dad. Do you know what it was like, watching Mom cry every night? Do you know how it felt to hear kids at school ask where my father was? Ryan was there. He listened. He cared. James's chest tightened. He's not your father, Lily. I am. Then act like it, she snapped, storming out of the room. James sat there, staring at the sketchbook she'd left behind. He picked it up, flipping through the pages. Her drawings were vivid, full of emotion. Portraits of Emily, landscapes of Willow Creek, and, on the last page, a sketch of Ryan, his face rendered with a tenderness that made James's stomach turn. James found Ryan at the diner on Main Street, nursing a coffee like he hadn't a care in the world. James slid into the booth across from him, his hands trembling with barely contained rage. "Talk," James said, "and don't lie to me." Ryan leaned back, his expression unreadable. "What do you want to know, Jimmy?" "Don't call me that," James said again. "I want to know why. Why my family? Why my wife? My daughter?" Ryan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It wasn't planned. You were gone, and they were hurting. Emily was lonely. Lily was angry. I was just trying to help, like you asked. But things changed." "Changed?" James's voice was a low growl. "You took advantage of them. You saw an opportunity and you took it." Ryan's eyes darkened. "You think it's that simple? You think I'm some predator who swooped in?" "Emily came to me, James. She needed someone to lean on. And Lily. She's a kid who needed someone to look up to. I didn't force anything." James slammed his fist on the table, drawing stares from the other patrons. "You're not their savior. You're a snake." Ryan didn't flinch. "Maybe. But where were you, huh? You left them. You chose money over your family. Don't blame me for picking up the pieces." James stood, towering over Ryan. "Stay away from them. If I see you near my house again, I'll make you regret it." Ryan's smile was cold. "You can't undo 5 years, Jimmy. They're not yours anymore." Over the next few weeks, James tried to rebuild what he'd lost. He moved back into the house, though he slept in the guest room. Emily was distant, her apologies tinged with guilt. Lily barely spoke to him, spending most of her time at school or locked in her room. James threw himself into fixing up the house, painting the porch, repairing the fence, hoping the physical work would mend the cracks in his family. But Ryan's presence lingered like a shadow. James found a photo of him in Emily's nightstand, tucked behind an old picture of their wedding. Lily's sketchbook was filled with more drawings of Ryan, each one more detailed than the last. James couldn't shake the feeling that Ryan was still there, in their hearts, in their minds. One night, Emily sat him down. "James, we need to talk about us." "There is no us if you're still thinking about him," James said, his voice heavy. "I'm not," she said, tears in her eyes. "I swear I ended it when you came back, but I can't pretend the last 5 years didn't happen. I can't pretend I didn't feel something for him." James's heart broke all over again. "Do you love him?" Emily hesitated, and that was answer enough. "I love you, James, but I don't know if we can go back to how things were." "And Lily?" he asked, dreading the answer. "She's confused," Emily said. "She's angry at you, at me, at herself. Ryan he was good to her. Too good, maybe. She's young, James. She doesn't understand." James nodded, the weight of it all pressing down on him. He'd lost more than time. He'd lost their trust, their love. And Ryan, damn him, had taken it all. The breaking point came on a rainy night in October. James was fixing a leak in the attic when he heard voices downstairs. He crept to the landing, his heart pounding. Ryan's voice, low and smooth, drifted up from the living room. James descended the stairs, his boots silent on the carpet. Ryan was there, standing too close to Emily, his hand on her arm. Lily sat on the couch, her eyes bright with that same unsettling adoration. James saw red. "Get out!" he roared, grabbing Ryan by the collar and shoving him toward the door. "I told you to stay away!" Emily screamed, pulling at James's arm. Stop it, James! You're scaring Lily. Lily jumped up, her face twisted with anger. Leave him alone, Dad. You don't get to come back and ruin everything. James froze, his grip on Ryan loosening. Ryan straightened, brushing off his jacket. You heard her, Jimmy. You're the outsider here. Something snapped in James. He swung, his fist connecting with Ryan's jaw. Ryan stumbled, blood trickling from his lip, but he didn't fight back. He just smiled, that same infuriating smile. Feel better? Ryan asked, wiping the blood away. James didn't answer. He grabbed Ryan again, dragging him outside into the rain. If I see you again, I'll kill you, he said, his voice low and deadly. Ryan laughed, a hollow sound. You can't kill what's already in their hearts, Jimmy. The next morning, James packed a bag. He couldn't stay, not like this. Emily begged him to stay, to reconsider, but James shook his head. I can't live like this, Emily. I can't pretend everything's fine when it's not. Emily's eyes filled with tears. I know I messed up, James. I know I hurt you. But we can fix this. We can try. James looked at her, then at Lily, who stood in the doorway, her expression unreadable. I don't know if we can, he said quietly. Not yet. He drove to a motel on the edge of town, the rain still falling, mirroring the storm in his heart. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing. He'd fight for his family no matter how long it took. Ryan might have won their hearts for a time, but James was home now. And he wasn't giving up without months passed. James took a job at a local hardware store, keeping his distance but checking in on Lily through weekly calls. She was softer now, her anger thawing, though she still kept him at arm's length. Emily started therapy, and James joined her for a few sessions, though the wounds were still raw. Ryan had left town, his whereabouts unknown, but his shadow lingered. One evening, Lily showed up at the motel, her sketchbook tucked under her arm. I drew something for you, she said, handing him a page. It was a portrait of the three of them, James, Emily, and Lily, sitting on the porch laughing. It wasn't real, not yet, but it was a start. I miss you, Dad, she said, her voice small. James pulled her into a hug, tears stinging his eyes. I miss you too, kiddo. I'm not going anywhere this time. The road to healing would be long, fraught with pain and trust to rebuild. But for the first time since he'd walked through that bedroom door, James felt a flicker of hope. His family wasn't lost. Not completely. And as long as they were still fighting, there was a chance to make things right.